we know that the most deleterious relationship that you have is with your device. In every healthy relationship, we have boundaries. We have boundaries with our kids, our parents, our colleagues, with our friends, and yet we have no boundaries and often porous boundaries when it comes to the relationship you have with your device. So it's not so much about, becoming a digital monk and renouncing technology, because technology can serve us, right? It inspires, educates, connects. Now more than ever, it's so important to be an informed citizen, but not at the expense of your mental health. And so what Jonathan was saying, this, constant being engaged with your devices, with social media, the scrolling from the minute you wake up until you go to bed, there's a reason why you have your best ideas in the shower. And that's because that's the only place in the whole day where you are not with your device. People take their device to the bathroom, they sleep with your device, you eat with your device, people walk down the street. There's more near-miss pedestrian accidents because people are walking while they're crossing the street and looking at their devices. And so there's all of this brain biology at play behind the scenes. So both of you have talked about how it doesn't feel good to engage and constantly be on your phone, that sense of infinite scroll. But there is, it feels like you're doing nothing. You're just doing this, right? What are you doing? But in fact, it is not passive. It is active, and it has a profound effect on your biology, on your brain, on your psychology, and also social factors that I hope we talk about today.
Scrolling, wasting a bit of time doesn't seem so harmful. What is if we play this forward 10, 20, 30 years, what is the big risk or threat?
The biggest threat right now, we don't even have to wait 20 years, is that through a process called neuroplasticity, which is just a big fancy word that simply means that your brain is a muscle, is that by engaging with social media, that sense of high volume, low quality, quick videos, you are actively rewiring your brain for the worse. So you're increasing your sense of stress, worsening your mental health, attention, cognition, distractibility, irritability, complex problem solving. All of that changes when you engage in that infinite scroll.
Yeah, I'd like to add on here, because one of the main arguments I get is, this is what they said about television. This is what they said about comic books. This is just another moral panic. But people need to understand why touchscreen devices are so different from television. And so parents find this helpful if I just lay this out briefly, good screen time versus bad screen time. So humans are storytelling animals. We have always, as long as we've had language, we've raised our kids with stories, epic poems, all kinds of stories. Stories are good. The human brain needs lots of patterns. The child's brain needs lots of patterns to develop. So the worst thing you can do is hand your child a device because they're crying for it because they're trained to get it, and you're busy, so you hand them the device, they're quiet. What's happening? They're sitting alone, when I was a kid, we always watched with my sisters, with my friends, you're arguing about it, you're talking, it's social. Kids sitting alone, with a device in his hand. It's not long stories. It's never long stories. It always ends up at YouTube Shorts or TikTok or Instagram Reels for older kids. So they're doing this, but here's the key thing that it does that a television does not. A television puts you in a state that psychologists call transportation. You get into a story and you find yourself pulled in and you're rooting for the characters. And this is how a brain gets tuned up to social patterns. But it can't happen in 10 seconds. It can't happen in 1 minute. It takes a long period of time. And there is no reinforcement. The television doesn't do anything to you. You don't have any response. Whereas a touchscreen device is a Skinner box. So B.F. Skinner was one of the founders of behaviorism, and he put rats and pigeons in a box where he could deliver a reinforcement, a little grain of food, on a schedule. And by giving them quick reinforcements for behavior, he could train them to do amazing tricks in just a few hours. When you give your kid a touchscreen device, it's stimulus, response, swipe, get a reward or not, variable ratio, and then and you just keep doing that. So you are, as Aditi said, it is rewiring your brain. It's not just wasting time. It is literally training you to do things where television didn't do that. So this is a whole new game.
And to add to that, from the medical perspective, you're shortening this attention span. And what happens over time is, so like Jonathan said, right, you're not sleeping as well because you are engaged with your device. We know that 80% of people are checking their phones within minutes of waking up. We have something called revenge bedtime procrastination, this concept of, at the end of the day, you're fatigued, you've had a long day, you've had no me time, and you want to get to bed early. We all know, by the way, what the data is, that we've been taught since we were little kids, right? Like bedtime, sleep is important. It's good for your body. It's good for your brain.